Hello, friend. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Coffee with Pam. Whatever time of day you are watching this, and I hope you've grabbed a great cup of coffee or beverage of your choice. I actually was going through counting my cups today, really crazy, and we have 74. Just love showing the different coffee mugs I get from different places, and we actually just added another couple of them to our collection. I have an uncle that just came back from El Salvador, which is where he's actually originally from. And he brought me an awesome coffee mug. And then we just got one from Arkansas here in the US. And yeah, just really excited. So, guys, I am really excited about today's episode. I have many episodes, many things that have been stirring on my heart. We actually just got back from vacation, and I just wanted to share a little bit about that trip, that journey, and just what God has done. And for those of you who have walked out a relationship with the Lord, it doesn't even have to be long, but a lot of you probably have witnessed or had it happen in your lives where just God's divine connections and something that you didn't even realize from maybe even years ago, just how God brings people into your lives, and it's quite incredible. I'm just really excited to share all this with you guys. So we started our trip off. We were heading to I keep calling it a wedding. It was actually a vow renewal for some dear friends of ours in Mississippi. I am from Illinois, once again, just here in the US for those of you who are listening out of country. And we actually stopped in Southern Illinois, so it was about 4 hours into our trip. And we stopped at my friend Julianne's home, and her husband welcomed us. And we've met up before in Tennessee and in Southern Illinois, but we've never stayed there. And so it just was a beautiful time, and lots of coffee, late night chat, and it was definitely what we needed. So Julianne and we actually met 20 years ago this month. Which was crazy. I didn't realize that until she had pointed that out. So it's just absolutely incredible what God can do, the relationships and the friendships that He can bring into your life, and how they can literally last a lifetime. And so we met. I was a junior in high school. Well, I was getting ready to become a senior in high school, and I attended a youth camp down there, which her dad was the youth pastor down there. I went to that youth camp to get away from life, and it's so crazy for my friends back home to hear my testimony, but very brief, I was not in a good place. I was in high school, very depressed, very suicidal, and just not in a good place at all. And when I got an invite to youth camp, it was actually to get away from my life. It was to get away from the world. And what I didn't know or didn't expect was for God to meet me there. And that summer wrecked my life in such an awesome and powerful way. And actually June 24th will be 20 years since I gave my life to the Lord. And so I call it spiritual birthday. I don't know if anybody else uses that term or has used that term. You're welcome to use it. I didn't come up with it, but I do celebrate my spiritual birthday because it's big. The day you're born and the day you are born again. And so Julianne has been in my life since then, and we hadn't seen each other for years. We've kept up and with one another, but more so, she has done just such a beautiful job at keeping up with me and my life. And for those of you who are, watching this for the first time, this video, this YouTube channel, listening on Spotify for the first time, this was, sorry, I'm kind of losing my train of thought. But she really stayed in my life, and a lot of it, when we really started reconnecting, was when my youngest child, he was just 2 years old and battling cancer, and he ended up passing away about 5.5 years ago. And during this season, the last 5 years, Julianne has been there for me. She has, very often sent messages just praying for you. Hey, how are you doing? How's your health? How, is there something I can pray for? And she has been just one of those friends that I have needed without me even knowing that I needed her. Without me, God foresees what we need before we even know it. And He is so good, so gracious, so loving, that He will send people into our lives. Some are from years ago. Some are from, decades ago, but God will bring them really back into your life when you need them. And that's a lot about what this episode is going to be about, is just God's connections and the ripple effects of what God can do in each of our lives if we're willing and open, and if we allow Him to, because we can shut the door and we can say no. But I hope that this encourages you to just fully look for those open doors, look for those relationships and friendships, and maybe God is placing somebody on your heart to reach out to you, or maybe somebody has already reached out to you and you need to send that message back. I just hope it encourages you to do that, to go for it, because you do not know the impact it could have. And so with Julianne staying in contact with me all these years, our friendship has just really blossomed and grown so much in the last few years especially. And she has been there. We've been through a lot of different things. When I say we, I mean my family, with the loss of our youngest child. And then I had a miscarriage about this time last year with twins. And she just really stepped it up. And I don't take that lightheartedly, and I hope that this is coming through the way I want it to be. But we live hours away. We have only seen each other maybe a handful of times in the last 20 years in person. But she has continued to be there for me and to pray for me and to check in on me. And about this time last year, she actually I think it was a little over a year ago, she had gifted me just this beautiful gift, and it was just to wrap around. It was a prayer shawl, but it's while I'm writing a book about our journey with our youngest son. It's something that I could just cuddle up with, and just God's love and presence. It's basically like an air hug in person. It has pockets, which I love, and so I can keep my Kleenex and stuff in there. But it just was a cozy way of her saying, I'm here for you, I'm praying for you, I love you, you've got this because God has got you, and I'm with you, I'm rooting for you. And it just means so much to me. And so that's just a little backstory of her. She is the sweetest person in the world. At camp, we used to call her America's sweetheart, because she truly is just like a Southern gem, and through and through loves the Lord, loves Jesus. Her boys, she has 3 boys, and they are growing and learning to love Jesus. And I'm just so happy to know her and her husband Zach. And so anyways, we got to stay down there. But they, the roles have kind of switched for us, and they have been walking through deep grief. A family member suddenly passed just a couple months ago, and it's just been a reminder to me, Lord, you have allowed people over and over again for the last 5 years of my life to check in on me, to make sure I'm doing okay, to be, just the hands and feet of Jesus, just to be there, or listening ear. But the roles are switching with some of my friends, and I'm realizing, God, I want to be there for them the way that they have been there for me. And I may not do it, as awesome as they did, but I do hope that they just know how much I love and appreciate them and all that they've, shown for me and my family. And so they are walking through pretty fresh grief. And while we were down there, we also found out that her grandpa was not doing so well. And so God just allowed us the next morning, even though we were up till super late, after 1 a.m. in the morning, just visiting, chatting, just the night away. Such an incredible time. The very next morning, we met her parents for breakfast, which once again, they were the youth pastors of the youth group or youth camp I went to, where I found the Lord. And I remember her dad's testimony just really stirred my heart for missions. I didn't even know what missions was, but I knew that I wanted to go to other nations and just share about God. And so when I heard it for the first time, I just knew my heart was pounding, the tears were flowing, I knew it was God. And anyway, so just really thankful for them. And we've seen them a couple times, probably a few times since then in the last 20 years, but we've kept in touch through social media. Anyways, the grandpa was actually not doing very well. And so it was just once again, God's divine timing appointments. The vacation we had planned, God's seen it afar off. I couldn't have known the time, the dates that he had planned, but he knew. And he allowed us that morning as Julian's mom was sharing just about just her hurting and her heartache and just the, just all the things that are facing about a parent, possibly passing or, just a lot of decisions that need to be made. I just was able to stop right there and say, can I pray for you? In God's divine moment, I could have just listened, which I think would have been okay. But God was stirring my heart to do something more and just to pray just for his peace and for his comfort, and that he knows the season that you are in, and that he knows the cries and those deep yearnings of your heart, and he sees every tear that is shed. God sees it all and he knows it all. And I really believe that he set me in that moment and just to stop and pray and just to be there, just to be present. And it just absolutely incredible. And just the messages I've received from both her and her mom have just meant a lot to me, and from her dad, just meant a lot to us about, just being there in those moments and being present. And, we all have a choice with every relationship in our lives. We have a choice, and you can choose to be a listening ear, to be a friend, to show them that you care by sending a message, even if it's here and there, just letting your friends and family know, like, hey, I'm thinking about you. And I find that more often than not, if somebody is on your heart, it's probably because God has put them there. A lot of times when I look back, when somebody's really on my heart, I just begin to pray. And so often it's usually because they're going through something, whether it's like a sickness or a passing of somebody, or there's just different struggles that we go through, but it's almost always right on time. And so God's just perfect timing in that. So our vacation continued, and we were making our way to Mississippi, and we ended up in Brandon, Mississippi at a beautiful, so where the wedding reception, vow renewal, I keep calling it a wedding, took place, was basically like a resort with a safari. It had zebras and emus and donkeys and like safari rides. And then way back, we had to go down like there's a really, really long road. We get there, and the first thing they say is, guys, watch out for the alligators. I was like, what? I knew that they were in like Louisiana. I didn't realize that they're like halfway through Mississippi. Definitely don't see those in Illinois that I know of. So that was a little bit of shock. And so they said, yeah, no joke. There's a baby one. There's a big one spotted and 3 more in the pond up front. I was like, okay. Staying away from the pond, got it. Not walking at night. Like, keep the little kids away. But anyways, so it's just kind of like that reality shock. Like, okay, we're definitely in a different state. We're in a different area of the country. And it was such a beautiful time. A lot of Southern accents. So that brings me to part 2 of this. And that is my friends, Kawana and James. So Kawana and James, oh my gosh, they are such a delight. And they have 8 little kids, and they've been married. This was their 11th wedding anniversary. And as long as I've known them, which is about 6 years, Kawana has been planning this vow renewal. And so when I say it was the most beautiful wedding reception vow renewal I have ever been to, I really do mean it. God was lifted up, the gospel was preached, just beautiful moments in there, and it was quite incredible. I'm so thankful that we got to have a small part in it, and just to be there. And you know how God connected us was actually through Facebook, and more specifically through my son's journey when he was battling cancer. And so I had started a Facebook page, which was actually meant for friends and family. I didn't want to post on my personal page. It just was, for me, I didn't want people to have to see it. I wanted them to choose to follow our journey. And so I created a separate page, and that just became it's where I wrote very often. It became therapeutic for me. It became where just, I don't know, I could be having the worst day. And by the time I got done writing, I was filled with the Holy Spirit. I was ready to just preach the gospel. God's peace would come in. His love would come flooding in. His grace was there. And it became just a ministry to me. But more than that, I didn't expect it to become a ministry to other people. And so what I expected to be, maybe 30 to 50 family members following along on that journey became over 5,000 following, but the post would reach over 100,000. And that is nothing that, like I said, I never intended for that. I didn't ask for it, but in God's gracious and beauty, we had people from all over the world that were praying for us. I still have connections in different nations just because of that journey and just because of that Facebook page. My friend in Australia and in other areas. And I'm just so thankful for, just those things. When we put faith to what God is asking us to do, I knew that I was supposed to start writing. I knew that I was supposed to start a page, but I did not expect it to become as big as it did. And God just let it burst forth. And it was amazing. And it was heartwarming just knowing how many people wanted to just follow along and just reading the comments. There were so many comments, I couldn't even keep up with them. I'm still, as I'm going back, trying to finish up my book, I'm going through reading posts, reading the different comments. I'm like, God, it stirs my heart, stirs my faith. And then, of course, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I would have commented, but I just wasn't quite there yet. But I'm so thankful for all that God does in our lives. And so it's quite incredible, just God's timing and his connections. And so Kawana actually started following our journey, and her husband then started following, and he even still sharing at the reception. He's like, my wife has followed a lot of kids' journeys, and he said, that they're hard and challenging, but there was just something about Levi's. He said, I couldn't stop following. And so that is how God connected us. And we actually tried to meet up right before when Levi got really sick, and we were bringing him home. They were trying to come up. They were at that time in Louisiana. And so it was, I don't know, probably at least a 14-hour drive from their house to our house. And we were trying to meet up, but Levi, he was home on hospice and just kept getting worse and worse. So it just did not work out. So it probably sounds crazy. But the very first time we met them, which I actually love to share this, was at Levi's funeral. The very first time I met them in person, the wedding that I just went to was at my child's funeral. And it was such a divine God connection, and it still is. And, I never would have met them if we didn't go through the journey, through the trial that our family went through. If I didn't step out in faith and start that page that I felt like, God stirring. And God does amazing and great things, greater than we can ever think or imagine. And we have stayed in touch all these, 5 to 6 years later. And I am so thankful that they are in our life. And it's another, just like Julianne, I don't know what I would do without them in my life. And she has kept up with me. And, is another one who has said, how are you doing? How is your health? Is there anything I can be praying for? And so it's just been really cool. And so anyways, we were down there at this time the ceremony had taken place, which once again was just so powerful. And then we were at the reception. And actually at the ceremony, we had a couple that was sitting behind us, and they had a little baby with them. And the mama was just seriously the sweetest. She was like a ray of sunshine, and they had a southern accent, and it just was so cool. You can just tell that Jesus was in their life. And for anybody who knows, you just know, a lot of times you can just sense Christ through people. You can just see the glow, the Jesus glow around them, and she had it. And so anyways, we're at the reception then, getting our sweet tea and stuff, and then we go to sit down, and they're actually at the table that we're sitting at, and they're like, oh, can we sit here? I was like, yes. There was definitely some sort of connection there, and I was actually really hoping to get to talk to them more. And so it was really cool. And so we just got to talking, and she just loves hearing people's story. And I was like, this is great because I love sharing stories. So it just worked out really well. And come to find out, that ray of sunshine, her name is Sunny. And so I was like, your name like fits you to a T. Like, it was just so cool. And I love people's names. I love namesakes. Sorry, little bunny trail. My name means sweet as honey, and I love it. And there's scriptures about honey, honey on the lips, and or song at least. And but anyways, I love names. I love knowing like what names mean and biblical meanings and Hebrew meanings and all of that. And so, anyways, Sunny was definitely very fitting for her. And so we got to talking, and I can't quite remember how it went, but she was asking, about children and how many children we have. And I began to share about Liam and Malachi, how he's, very new to our lives. He's been with us for a year now, well, almost a year. Today's actually a year since he burst forth into our lives. And then about a journey with Levi. And then she went, wait, do you mean like Levi's journey? I was like, yeah, we did a Facebook page, Levi's story. She's like, oh my goodness. She said, I followed your guys' journey. Guys, that was, over 5 years ago. Here I am. She's from Louisiana. I'm from Illinois. We meet at this wedding in Mississippi. And for the first time, and it was just a powerful God divine moment. And then she tapped her husband on the shoulder. She's like, honey, do you remember following Levi's story? And he's like, Levi's journey? No. And she said, the little boy who battled cancer, and he his face was like, wait. And then all of a sudden his hands went in his, his face went in his hands, and his eyes just got teary eyed. And you can just tell that it hit him. These are Levi's parents. This is the Levi that we followed. This is his family. And I don't know how to even describe the moment other than it was just for both of us, both sides. It's like, God, these people, we are connected on a level that I never even knew was there, that I never knew existed. But once again, God's timing is so perfect, is so beautiful, the way that he orchestrates every detail in our lives. And yes, we went through such great heartache in our lives, but God is so good, and he's still making those ripple effects that I never even imagined, that I could only hope or pray for. God is weaving pieces in our lives. It's just like a beautifully orchestrated tapestry, and he's just putting everything together, and it's just incredible to sit back and just to see God unfold this thing in my lives. And it was just such a God divine moment, and just there is a deep friendship there, and that was birthed, God knew it before we even knew it. And I'm telling you, there was that instant connection, and then just knowing that they had prayed for us, had followed us and our journey. And guys, I can't even make this up. It's just so amazing and incredible. And I'm just so thankful for all that God does in our lives. And so anyways, that was just absolutely incredible. We may not know what God has in store for us. And yes, there is going to be heartache. If you have walked with the Lord for any amount of time, you have probably been through some sort of trial, some sort of refining moment in your life, some sort of struggle where you could choose to just be in those moments and be upset or angry or mad or just why me? Or you can choose to say, God, I know you've got me, and I don't care what I'm going through, what my family's going through. I'm going to trust you through this season. And I know that you are going to help me walk this walk out in faith with such boldness. And God can do that, and he will do that. And I'm a living testimony of it. God can do that. And no, I am not perfect. I did not run my walk perfectly with my child battling cancer. Absolutely not. But I have grown from it. And every day I tried to choose to say God, here I am. And even days where I couldn't even muster it up, I didn't even know. It was there was days where I didn't know what to pray, or almost how to pray, except for, Lord, all I could say is, I trust you. Those are the only words that can come out of my mouth. So God knows before we ever know, just those connections he has in our lives, those plans and purposes he has for us to give us a hope and a future. And as long as you have breath in your lungs, God is still writing your story. There is still more growth to happen. And if we knew every bit of the picture that God is painting before our lives, if we knew it, honestly, would you walk through the things that you've walked through? Would you walk through the sorrow and through the grief? Would you walk through the heartbreaking relationships or the ending of careers or whatever it is? Would you walk through those things? Would you choose to? More than likely not. But that is why God does not reveal his full plans and purposes for our lives, because if we seen it all, would we still choose him? If we seen it all, would our faith still grow? If we knew what was ahead, would we still walk with the Lord? Would we still allow him to move in our lives? And would we still allow ourselves just to rest in him and to say, God, I trust you. I don't know what is going on in my life. I don't know why there's got to be such, great sorrow and deep heartache, but God, I trust you in that. And God is so good and so faithful. And I'm so thankful that he walks us, he leads us through those moments in our lives, those moments of just searching for him and trying to figure out, how to grow deeper with him. And so just the last part of this episode that I want to share is just once again about God's divine connections. God is going to place people in your lives. It could be people from 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago. It could be somebody tomorrow that he places in your life that is meant to be there for a lifetime. Somebody who's going to be there when you need them, when you least expect it, when you don't realize what's ahead. God is going to send them into your life. And I just want to share that even during this journey, like Julianne, we've been friends for 20 years, and Sunny and I, we've been friends for about a week and a half, and Kawan and I for about 5 to 6 years, and all of them, I just consider, it doesn't matter how long I've known them or not known them, like they are my friends, and I cherish them and honor them, and very thankful for what God has done. But there are people and paths that God has placed in our lives long before we even, seen the full effect of it. And so just another quick testimony. My husband, when he was 19, went off to St. Louis, Missouri for a Bible college. And he stayed with a host family, and they were in that season exactly what he needed. And it was a place for him to call home for the 9 months of training. And it was just a beautiful connection that God had made. Well, I don't know if we ever met them in person at this point. I know that we, kind of kept up on social media with one another. But when we were going through our journey with Levi, and, Dana and I, neither one of us were working. I mean, our son was, going through hospice, and things had just gotten so crazy and intense. But bills didn't stop coming in, like our everyday bills, car insurance and phone bill and internet and electric, just the different bills that, everyday life. And I cannot tell you how many times we received a check in the mail from somebody who we hadn't seen, and this family in particular, we received a check in the mail, and I was like, Dana, when was the last time you had seen them? It had probably been at least 10, 12, 15 years since he had seen them. But in that desperate season of our lives where we needed people the most, when we needed the support of friends, of family, of our community, of those from long ago to those that we hadn't even met yet that were supporting us, God knew the season ahead. And he knew it way before we ever could have seen it. I could not have seen it, but God knew. And he sent people in our lives from then. And I spent a summer in Canada this was 2007, so almost 20 years ago. And people from even then that I have not seen since then. And youth camp from 20 years ago. And, just God had sent them into our life at just the right time, and he allowed them to be just that beacon of light that we needed in that very, very dark, heavy season of our lives. And he allowed them to bless us. And, in the return, I'm sure that it blessed them greatly to be able to help and to give and to pray. And I just hope that you are capturing just how great God is. His plans and purposes for you are beyond what you could ever imagine. And though you may walk through the valley of the shadow of death, God is with you. There's no reason to fear because God is with you and he's going to carry you through. And the ripple effects that God is doing in your life today, the ripple effects that he did in your life yesterday or last year, you don't know how far and wide the ministry, the outreach, the outpouring, the lives that what you are going through can touch, and the lives that maybe somebody how much they have touched your life. The ripple effects are amazing and they're real. They are absolutely real. And God is so good and so faithful. And I just hope that encourages you that, we do not see the way that God sees. We cannot see our lives in the way that God sees our lives. But what we can do is day by day, step by step, we can trust him. We can trust him in the good. We can trust him in the bad and the hard times. And God is so good and so faithful. And it can be years later, but you will see some of the ripple effect that your life may have and that those around you may have had on your life. And there are going to become moments when you just see God's divine connections. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I love stories, in case you haven't figured that out yet. For those of you who have been following, I love stories, I love testimonies, and I would love to hear just God's divine appointments, just a story in the comments, just how God has connected somebody in your life. And, just thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch, to listen. It means more to me than I can even express. And if you're new to this channel, I would ask that if you could subscribe and like this video. It really does help it to push this out to even more people and to reach more lives, and that ripple effect to just really go out there even further than I can imagine. And so thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.